Hello everyone, welcome back to another DCC Sodor video. Today we are going to be installing DCC decoder in Douglas. This is one that I'm doing for a subscriber. So if you'd like to get in touch to have your models upgraded to DCC or DCC and sound, send me an email. My email can be found on my channel page. So I'm gonna adjust the camera here. See all the other crap I've got working on in the background here. So we're gonna pull. Okay, well, the tender came out. All right, Douglas is out, both pieces are out, so we'll put that back. And we're just gonna focus on Douglas's front for now. So first thing we're gonna do is do some unscrewing of the screws. Now, I recommend that you have some kind of container or something to hold the screws. This little pair of helping hands, which I'll be using here in a bit, has a nice little tray that you can drop some screws in. So there are 6 screws on Douglas. There are 2 up front, 2 behind his rear middle wheel, and 2 right under his cab. Get those unscrewed here. There's another one. Oops. I recommend working on some kind of mat or tray just to keep all your stuff and protect your work surface underneath you. There's the 4th screw. 2 more in the back here. I gotta remind myself to keep the model forward when I'm working because I like to work back closer to me. All right, that's 2 screws out. And with that, frame and chassis is all released from the body. So I'm actually going to pop Douglas's face off if I can. If it doesn't want to pop off, I might leave it. Maybe for now I'll just leave it on there. And we're gonna actually modify his body first. So the only thing we're really gonna do is drill 2 little holes and file a slot so that when we add in one of these connectors, we can attach all the wires and they'll sit right in with the body. So let's do that first. So let me make sure I got my drill set up and we'll be right back. Okay, so I've got my pin vise here with about a number of 50 something-ish drill bit. Doesn't need to be too exact, and I'm just gonna set the model down here and I'm gonna look at it myself to try and get it semi-centered. I want it just a little bit off to the left here. So that when I drill the second hole, they're about even in the center of the cab. And we're just going to slowly take our time and drill this out. And sometimes your drill will slip and it'll slide all the way inside of there. That's great. Just it didn't scratch anything. Just make sure this is nice and tight in the pin vise. All right, and we got 2 layers to go through. Feels like we went through 1, and the pin vise sometimes likes to get stuck. And there we go. Let's see. Maybe you can kind of see it. Look at that. You got 1 hole there. And let's go about there for it. And we'll drill the second hole. This one. part of it. And oh, we are through. Clean this up a little bit. Clean up some of this flashing. Clean off our workspace a little bit. Don't want to get them too messy. All right. So now I've got some needle files here. I'm going to take these needle files and I'm just going to start filing a little bit of that plastic away that's left there between the two holes till I break through. Almost there. Yep, I just broke through. Almost. There we go. So right now what we've got is two holes right next to each other. So we're going to kind of take this semi-round file. It's really hard to focus on. And go in there with this one and kind of start rounding it, taking what has been rounded out and make it nice and flatter. Make it a little flatter at least. Enough to fit some wires through there and get the connector at least partway in there. Okay, so that looks much better. We're going to take our TCS wiring harness now. Open up the little staple and let's use our X-Acto knife. Put the staples on the back. Pull the connector packaging apart. And I'm going to reference Donald here, who I did before as a test run. And we're going to get Douglas fitted with this harness here. This is the female connection. And we're also going to check, so I have the red wire on the very left. So we're going to feed this through and we're going to test fit it. Let's see if it fits. It looks like all the wires fit. Will the connection fit? And no, just barely it won't. So what I'm looking for is right now, if it'll focus, right now, the heat shrink on the end will not fit through. I want that to fit through, so let me go here. I'm going to file a little bit more away. There's nothing on the edges of this one. What was the other one? No. Sometimes you gotta look for some different files. I thought I had another one like that. Maybe I don't. Whoa. Alright, we're gonna use these ones. for the kind of alternate sides a little bit. All right, and we're going to test fit again. So sometimes it's just a matter of testing back and forth and back and forth. All right, come on. Ooh. Almost. Let's clean this one. It's out here. Oh, jeez. And it, oh, come on. Nope, just barely doesn't fit still. All right. Just barely doesn't want to fit in there. All right, I'm going to cut here and we'll come back. All right, so I was able to get our connector in there. And let's turn this soldering iron on. Get some soldering going. Yeah. Clear this out. I'm actually going to go wet my sponge. All right. And we're back. Nice wet sponge. Let's get some of this stuff out of the way while we're not working with it. Right? Keeps nice and clean. Okay. So first thing we're going to do is unscrew the screw in the center of the circuit board. So once that screw is off, we can, interesting. Little plastic card piece there. Never seen that one before. And then we're going to take this screw here for the gearbox. Pull that screw off. I'm going to drop that in there. It's a different size screw than the screws we were using before, so I should be okay to find it as long as I remember which ones they are. And we'll pop the gearbox off. I'm actually going to open up this gearbox. And the reason that I am opening the gearbox is to be able to access the motor. Because there's a big capacitor on the motor here. right there, and we need to take that off. Convince it to come loose. Not with this screw still in here. There we go. Take these screws. And let's see, what do we got here? M plus is the brown wire, and M minus is the whatever color that is. Oh, we got 2 screws stuck to the motor. Take those off, and let's put this motor in our helping hand. Let's turn this up, and first of all, I'm just gonna get that first wire. All right, that's one off. It's one leg off. Let's get this other one off. Come on. Come on. There we go. I'm just going to grab this capacitor with my fingers. It's hot. No, I'm going to grab it with this pair of tweezers. There we go. Don't need that anymore. Do, however, need this guy right here. Got to go back on there. And for this very moment, we're going to set the gearbox and all of the screws and the motor off to the side. And we're going to unscrew 3 screws in the chassis. If I were doing this better planned, I would also have gotten another container to put the rest of these screws in, but I'll just remember where they go. So I'm going to pick this up, and and I'm going to snip these wires real quick. Not going to reuse that circuit board. And we're going to drop it off here. I'm going to see if I can. Whoopsies. That's not what I wanted to do. See if I can pull off this bit of heat shrink tubing. Came off fairly easily on Donald, so I'm surprised that this is. Now it came off on this one, which is good. What I can do here without. Nope. It's stuck on there pretty well. Oh. Yeah, so there are pieces of heat shrink tubing that insulate these pieces here. So I'm gonna actually cut the camera once again and mess with this. All right, so I was able to get the black one off. I just had to cut the bit of heat shrink off. So now I'm gonna go to this. Quickly touch it without heating it too much. Just gonna do that just to make sure I clean all the bits of wires that might have been left there off. Okay, I'm just gonna clean my hands real quick. Yeah, not with that. Wash them. Okay. So now that I've done that, my hands are nice and clean. And take this little tool here. Apparently my computer screen is going to turn on. That's interesting. Didn't even realize my computer was on. Anyways, we're just gonna use this special wire stripper here. Strip out a little bit off of each wire. Douglas has graciously landed in this nice area where I can easily strip the wire. And we're gonna tin it. So if you've never done any soldering before and you're kind of like, what the heck does tinning mean? Basically, it just means these wires come in teeny little strands. So to bond all those strands together, you'll take some solder and you're gonna take these little copper tips and we'll slide that back. Bring out the solder here. And to know this is not the ideal way to do this, where did my tweezers go? I have lost my tweezers. Just used. Ah, here they are. Okay. Not the ideal way to do this, but that's the way that I prefer. Just come and kind of tin that end. Keep your solder tip away from your locomotive. Tin that end. It's nice and clean. Good. And then last but not least, the red wire. Yeah, there we go. That cleaned it off. That's why you wet your sponge, is to clean off your tip of the soldering iron. And then let's find, I had a scrap piece of the heat shrink tube. I actually think I'm gonna, thinking I want to cut this little bit in half, but I think I'm just gonna leave it the size that it is here. Slide this piece of heat shrink down. Yeah. If it doesn't seem to cooperate. Yeah, it's cooperating. Then I'm going to take a little itty bitty piece here. This probably about this much. Snip it off. And we're going to use that without melting the bracket at all. Slide, hopefully be able to shrink it on. We're going to slide this over the black wire. And we're going to also have to fiddle this through the chassis. So this is the toughest part, is getting the wires through these holes here without losing all your wheels and everything. So sliding it through there, just like that. Oh, I lost my, that's all right. I'll retrieve it after. Yes, yes. All right, let's set that. Actually, I'm going to pull this red wire back out and take this little guy off for a second, and I just lost the black wire. Okay. All right, here we go. You see, if you haven't noticed, I like to whisper when I concentrate. Okay, that's one. This is really the getting all the wires on this part, probably the hardest part here. Once you get this down, it's pretty simple. Okay. I'm going to turn this guy towards me. Drop the wires down. There's a little bit of solder on there. Let me see if I can get that out. Yes. There we go. All right. I'm going to keep Douglas's body as far away as possible. Drop this down just a little bit more so that I can flip my hand over this with a steady eye. Oopsies. Melt the solder, but not wire. Nope. Really a tough angle to doing this at. I'm going to give that a little tug. It doesn't seem to be moving. So we'll put the piece of heat shrink, slide it kind of down on. And then what I'm going to do from here is just take the tip of the soldering iron and I'm just going to heat up top of it just a bit. Don't want to get it. One, I don't want to get it too hot. And two, I don't want to melt any of the plastic around here. Do that. It covers, but I can't pull on it pretty easily to get it up on. So we're going to do the same thing with the red, and hopefully I can make this red a little bit of an easier angle for me to look at. Maybe even top down. Try that. And this is also awkward for me because I'm using my right hand to solder and I am not right-handed. Yes, yes. There we go. All right. Now that my Jeremy Clarkson esque noises are done, mostly piece of solder or heat shrink to slide down over top of my solder connection. That would be fantastic. Yes, just like that. Okay, so our next step is going to be putting all the screws back in. Okay. The first thing we're going to do is let the, oh geez. Oh dear. That's a problem. That's a problem. Yep, that's a problem. Alright, well, I was able to pull that off a little bit easier than I wanted to. Okay, so obviously I didn't think about the fact that I had twisted everything around. So I'm gonna redo this. Pop that wire out. This one off. And actually, I had them soldered on the right points, but stuck them through the wrong holes in the chassis. So let's fix that real quick. And I think, no, I'll keep this black piece the way it is. I'm going to pull the red wire through. It's going to go through this way. Uh-oh. It's getting stuck on the axle here. Let me use this pair of tweezers. Nope. Said, no, not today. I'll knock the camera a little bit. Yes, here we go. Oh. Okay, there we go. Let's make sure these are all quartered. Yes. Or No, that's not the right word. It's fine. It's fine. Okay. If I have to feed this through this piece of freaking heat shrink tubing one more time, I'm gonna scream. Right. That's through, and I'm actually gonna try this the right way that I should have been doing it before, which is left-handed. I will say at times it can be hard to keep things like DCC installs family friendly, as you do often want to say some unkind words just to get the frustrations out. Pull this off and push. Whoops. Shoot. I'm actually going to tackle it this way. Let me try this. I'll look straight at it. Hold it here. Maybe. We'll try it. I don't think that's going to work. You know what? Messing around. Do this. That piece out. What I should have done in the first place, which is cut an entirely new piece, is too big. I'm not going to cut this one quite as long as the other one was. A little longer than the one I had on the black wire. And then I'm going to do about the same thing. First, I'm going to squeeze these back down together. Yeah, there we go. Just going to use my fingers now. Sometimes I feel like I have more control this way, and sometimes I don't. This one keeps falling on me now. The only problem with these helping hands, they do tend to fall down. So I'm going to pick this one up and use that little guy as a roll of solder as my stand. I do need to put a little bit of pressure. That is an excellent solder. Huh. Thank you, wire, for magically giving me just a teeny bit more to work with. So now I'm going to squeeze that again. I'm going to turn this way. Oh, jeez. Keep trying to get Douglas's body out of harm's way, and somehow keeps ending up right back where I don't want him to be. Annoyingly. Oh man, this could be stressful. But also a good stress reliever. And this is all twisted up now too. Whoa, jeez. Untwist this like this. Set Douglas's body over here. We're gonna move these out this way. Here we go. That's better. There we go. Beautiful. All right, now the most stressful part is over. Turn the heat up on this a little bit. Just a tad to shrink that. It's pretty good. Let my soldering iron cool down just a tad. Wait to put these pickups back on. I know people complain. Certain people on the internet complain about these pickups, but you know, sometimes I feel like the if it ain't broke, don't fix it thing comes into play here, because you know, I feel like spring-loaded contacts can be kind of unreliable sometimes. I've had issues with some of my American Athearn locomotives that have spring-loaded contacts with their lighting systems, that they've had some issues. So I'm personally okay with wires. I understand it's not the best for serviceability, but you know, not everything should be. Sometimes what functionality is what matters. These pickups are really starting to fall apart on me. Let me give them another squeeze. And this piece should slide off. Just okay. Just drop it down in. Yes. I'm sure this would have been much easier had it had spring-loaded contacts. But again, if it ain't broke, no need to fix. Come on. Please. What the heck? There we go. And there. Okay. One last step. Getting these screws back in. Ooh. One screw. Put this one on the. Whoop. Where'd that one go? Well, eventually I'll figure out where that one went. Tighten these end screws here. Aha, there we go. Screw that screw in. All right. Well, that's we're getting there. We're getting there. All right. Next step is going to be. Sure that PC shrinks down on there. Wiring the motor. So typically I'd be a little worried about you know, polarity, which one's positive and negative, but I'm not, I'm not quite as worried with this, just due to the fact that this, there's no lighting or anything, there's no directional lighting, so I can program CVs if there are any issues with the direction. Thank you. And that can be some of the problems you run into with helping hands. So I'm going to set this on the ground and solder wire one into place and spin it around and solder the other wire into place. Nice. Okay. All right. Now our next step, putting the gearbox back together. So the first thing we're going to do, slide the motor in without this guy coming apart. Yep, some might need to bend that tab just a tad to get the motor wires to slide into that channel. I'm gonna flip this and sit. Oh, is that in? No, no, it is not. Let's go from the front. Find this guy in that way. Oh, heard a nice little snap, which I hope was a good snap. And I'm missing a screw. All right, we will find that screw eventually here. I'm sure it'll turn up. This is one. I dropped it already. There. Whoopsies. One in. Let's see. It's two the same screw. They look very similar, so actually I think all the screws that are in the gearbox here that would have are the same. So you actually now have an extra screw because of the screw you took out of the PCB. PCB is that printed circuit board over there, if I didn't mention that before. And with that, with this second to last screw going in for the gearbox, and now the last screw going in. Whoopsie. And I missed the hole. Oh boy. Okay. Right. So the two screws that are different in here, we got one of them here. I'm gonna go and drop it like it's hot into this screw in the front. Then we're going to screw in the back of the gearbox. So I left these wires long just to, I prefer that. I know some people like them very short, but I don't. I prefer them long so that you got some room to move the body around. So I like to give them a little twist, and it makes kind of a twisted wire harness. You can give them quite a bit of twisting too, and kind of locks its way up in there, and just kind of feed the wire up in and drop down on. And I think I gotta pop the Douglas's face out of here. Like that. And once we get all the wires up in there, just coax, maybe you need to coax one or two away from the screw terminal holes. And one thing I might do here is take my phone and shine the light into the screw holes so that I can see in. All right, so everything's back in, well, except for these screws. So I'm going to show you how I screw these screws in, and then we're going to talk about Douglas's tender. Difficult. Yep, so all 6 screws will just go in the body. And don't over tighten them, just tighten them enough so that the screw head, maybe the screwdriver skips in the screw head once, but don't do it too much, or else you'll strip out the top head of the screw, and you'll be a very unhappy camper when you can't unscrew your locomotive anymore when something happens to it. If something happens to it, I should say. If you actually run these Bachmann locomotives like sanely, and you typically don't have too many problems with them. I mean, the only one I've ever had an issue with was one that I ran way too fast, and then the other one that I destroyed the control. My controller actually died, and sent like 120 volts or sent AC current through the through the track and just smoked the motor. It was a pretty sad day. I mean, I was like, and so I've had 3 Gordon's models, and I still have my original Henry. I mean, every other model except for Gordon, maybe Edward. I think something happened to my Edward. Other than that, all my Bachmann models are the originals from when they were released, and I pretty much got 99% of them except for Thomas and Percy. I got them as soon as they came out. Shoot. That last one. Come on, Mr. Screw. Please just go in. Sometimes you just gotta throw in the towel and restart. Whoops. And sometimes you gotta back them out. See. It's in. And that's Douglas is front end. The hard part is done with. Now there's 4 screws that hold the body of the tender onto the chassis, and we're going to install the decoder and the speaker in the chassis and the tender here. Now I would honestly recommend this even if you're just doing a regular DCC install, not a sound install, to try out this method. There's definitely room for a small like Digitrax decoder. Whoops, jeez. Okay, well, 4 screws under the tender, pull the tender apart. So I've got these, my client sent me these Sugar Cube speakers here, which you can get off eBay. I've used these in the past myself, and I have these custom 3D printed speaker housings, which actually are decent, very decent actually. So the first thing I'm going to do for this one is tin this speaker the pads to the speaker. It'll let me? Yes, there we go. This is going to be my longest video ever. I'm okay with that. All right. So that is done. Now we're going to take our ESU 58823 DCC micro decoder. I just dropped the box for it, but I have the decoder here. So we're basically going to just do the same process we did with the locomotive. So we've got the male connection on the tender here. Focus, yep. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to drill some holes in here, follow them out so that this can fit in, although I won't have to do as much filing because I don't need to fit it flush. And then we're going to do some more soldering. We've got plenty of time. All right, we're going to keep going with that. So I'm actually going to set my speaker off to the side with Douglas for now. And let's get some drill bits going again. I don't want to do it right against that metal there. Plastic's fine. And so again, kind of in the center. Doesn't have to be perfect. Again, you could measure this if you wanted to, but I'm just eyeballing it. And you'll feel that the drill will not want to turn anymore when you're getting ready to break through the plastic. Then it'll turn pretty easily. So let's get some of this plastic flashing out of here. And then we'll drill our second hole. Just going to hold it for this one. Oops. And sometimes the drill bit, again, will slip, so just be careful of that. Make sure your pin vise is nice and tight. And I might have drilled those holes a little too far apart. Be okay. Make it work. Yeah, those are a little further apart than I would have liked them to be. Let's see if I can cut. Yeah. Oops. Nope. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to do some filing here. Probably try and hold the drill. See if I can get it, keep it from slipping off to one side. Maybe I can do that. Ooh, that's actually working out a lot better than I thought it might. Did end up sliding off to one side. It's okay. Almost drilled all the way through. So it'll make filing much easier. See, almost through. All right, whoopsies. Yes. So let's do some filing here. Nope, we're going to use this file. Let's break through. And I think I'm actually going to leave it at that because I don't want the hole to be too big. And this is the kind of thing I'll say is like sometimes, you know, you may make errors like this. This is, I wouldn't even call this a huge, like a catastrophic error or anything like that. I'm just going to clean up this hole a little bit. You know, adapt and overcome. You can only do so much. So this time we're going to want the right wire or the red wire on our far right. So let's just drop these wires in. Like I said, oh, we're missing the black wire in here. This guy, let's go through like this. And then we're going to have the red off to the one side. And this is actually like, this is perfect. Because it still can't drop through, but we've got enough here that I can strip each of these wires and tin them off. And I'll also, oh, here we go. So you can still see my fancy schmancy tool. And we're going to do that. It's going to squeeze. Oops. It's going to squeeze. Nope. It's going to squeeze the wire. And it's going to cut it. It cut it. It's not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to cut. There we go. Oh, oh, oh. Sometimes you gotta got it. And I lost it. So let's give her another squeeze, Mr. Squidward. Yes, there we go. Yep, it's another one. And lastly, the black wire, the track right wire. Where's the left? Could be either. Whatever your heart desires. All right, so all those wires are now stripped. We'll tin them. Where did my solder go? Yes. No, I'm not going to rapid fire. And I'm using the wrong hand. Should be using my left hand to hold the soldering iron. For some reason I'm feeling like challenging myself this evening. Okay. So nice thing about these ESU decoders is that they come pre-tinned. You can see all that there. But we don't need this whole mess of wires. So I'm actually going to take and cut off what we don't need. So we don't need any lighting functions. So I'm going to take these three wires, the green, the blue, the green, the yellow, and the white. I'm going to snip them as close as I can. Then I'm also going to take the blue wire, grab it, pull it up, and snip it off. And then also with the purple wire. So I just recommend this because you don't need a rat's nest of wires in there. You definitely could, if you wanted to, strip these down all the way, but just, you know, not strip them down, but cut them down further if you would like. I am not in this case, but it could be done and probably should be. Definitely do it if you like your wire management to be nice. But again, I'll do the same kind of trick where I twist them, and just gonna cut this little guy into 4 pieces. Oh, this one's gonna be a little short. And this time I'm gonna do is take our helping hands and grab the wire at the heat shrink and take the corresponding wire. And that's a brown wire. Oh geez, yeah, I could have blown an amplifier doing that. And just slowly solder together with them. There we go. And I'm going to keep heat shrink. So I still kind of pinched the wire a little bit more than I wanted it to. Which one is also pretty small? That connection's not. So my only fear is that I've cut that one piece a little bit too short. I do have more heat shrink, but what I'm actually going to do is pull this, get myself, dropped something on the floor. Yeah, it's all good. Let's get this lighter I've got here. It's kind of overkill, but it's not very hot. So, and it has this nice small flame. Just shrink the wire nice and easily. So I'm just going to go through and finish these up. And wire up the speaker and put all the goodies on, and we'll be ready to listen to Douglas a little bit. Actually, I do have to work on the sound file just a tad. So it'll probably be a couple days by the time I finish filming this, but no big deal. Yep. All right. So I'm gonna revisit the speaker here for just a second. And it looks like I actually dropped it somehow. Oh, one of those screws wanted to run away. So the speaker, if you saw me do it before, I put out my pair of magnetic tweezers over top of it, and then held, and that kind of holds the speaker down, and then I would just hold this bit of wire to install our speaker. Now I'm doing this for a very specific reason. Speakers are obviously by that magnetic, and a soldering iron is made of metal. So I don't want the soldering iron to burn the back of the speaker. That would be pretty bad. So I'm going to do the same thing here that I did before and twist. Actually, I'm going to twist the decoder up. I'm going to twist up these wires, and I'm holding the speaker just to make it easier. And I'm going to twist, keep some tension. Keep some tension as we twist. Kind of bring them in a little bit. Drop that in here. I'm going to use a bit of this 3M, double-sided tape that I've got here. I'm going to cut a strip off and then cut it in half. And I use this instead of foam tape because the foam tape, the double-sided foam tape, can actually tend to dry out. You don't want that. So I'm going to cut this bit off here. I'll use that, and I'm going to stick this to the back of our speaker. I prefer this anyways. It's pretty easy to use. And these pointy tweezers here. Actually, no. I'm going to take the X-Acto knife, cut down away from me so I don't get myself in the thumb. I almost did, but the blade was flat against me, so it wouldn't cut me. And I'm going to take a speaker and stick it right about here. So as I said, these are for a client and subscriber, actually. And the reason why I'm doing this a little bit differently than when I did my own Donald and Douglas. My own Donald and Douglas have keep alives in them. Not necessary if your track works really good. I'm actually going to stick the decoder right against this. No, I'm going to stick the decoder this way. Yeah, I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to twist these again. But I use 28 millimeter speakers, and I caught a bunch of holes in the bottom of my engines. Drill bits flying everywhere. So we're going to drop those down on, and it seems like everything fits. What do here? There we go. Let's get the wires out just a little bit. Okay. All right. We're going to get, I'm going to pick this drill bit up. I'm going to start my cleanup process just a little bit because I don't want drill bits flying everywhere and tearing pants or anything. We're going to get some screws going here. We're just about finished with this install. All right. Oh, that one went right down in the hole. Another one in. Screw number 3. Set, if you're in Korean, I think. Net in Korean. There we go. Excellent. And with that last screw going in, I don't know if it went in quite as well as I wanted it to. Yep, now it's in. We got to make sure, so we want our red wire here to be the same as the red wire on the tender. So I'm just going to grab this one, and we're going to I'll use that connector and plug them in. Hey, what's the heck's going on here? It's supposed to be easy to plug together. Oh, there we go. There's our connection. And here's Douglas. It's a pretty subtle connection. I do really like these TCS connectors for that reason. You can still swing as far as he wants to. So with that said, we're going to get him onto the programming track. I'm going to shut down my soldering iron, get that out of the way. Do a little bit of housekeeping here as we get Douglas to the programming track. Load up a sound file for him, and I'll get him back to my client or back to my subscriber, and hopefully they'll be happy with their new Donald and Douglas. And like I said, I did Donald before, but That was kind of my trial run, as I hadn't done installs in these guys, and since I had done mine a couple of years, maybe a year or two ago, and sometimes you forget a little bit. All right, so I will meet you at the programming track.
Aye, I feel sorry for the engine that has to pull that lot, Donny. All right, cool your funnel, big man. This is taking ages.
All right, that's Douglas. This is actually my Douglas, but Douglas is already on his way. Actually, he's arrived at the clients, so thankfully he's safe and sound. But anyways, that's just going to do it for this video. So I wanted to thank you guys. If you watched all the way to the end, congratulations. I'll show you a little bit of a sneak preview of something I'm working on. So I'm working on this loop here, and I actually just finished it as of the recording of this video. I'm waiting for some more track to come in before I can obviously completely finish it, but the narrow gauge engines will shortly have their own loop again, and on some pretty neat track. So I'll talk more about that in another video. But without further ado, we'll end this video off here, and I'll say again, thank you guys if you made it all the way through for watching this whole thing. And be sure to leave me some thoughts in the comments and to subscribe. And leave a like if you like this video. Well, even if you didn't, give it a like anyways. So that's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. And I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.